In this video, I want to go over the Brave browsers for Linux users. Now, if you're a Windows user or Mac user or use a cell phone or tablet, you can also use the Brave for those platforms as well. Now, if you found this video on YouTube, I will provide a link below the video that will show you how to install it on your system if you're an Ubuntu, Debian, or Mint user. But before I do, let me show you tell you the definition or description of Brave. Brave is a free and open source web browser that's fast, private, and secure. It's basically uses from the code of the Chromium, so it works very similar to the Google Chrome and the Chromium browsers without all the spying and uploading the telemetry for websites that you visit. So it's a very private browser. So if you're using Google Chrome, you may want to install this to compare Google Chrome and see if you like it, and eventually you may like it so much that you'll uninstall your Chrome browser and use Brave as your default browser. Now, if you're a Debian, Ubuntu, or Mint user, let me show you how you can install it. Just open the terminal and you're simply copying and pasting. You copy everything that you see in bold and you paste it into your terminal. Press the enter or return key. You may have to put in your password, and then eventually when it goes to your prompt again, you just simply copy and paste and press the enter return key, and then you're putting in to where it creates this source list D, so that way that it keeps the repository information so that it will update the Brave browser. In case you install Brave and there's future updates, it will upgrade the browser for you. Then next you update your repository information. Then if you've ever installed Brave a long time ago, maybe download an installation file that didn't get the repository, you can go upgrade, and if Brave is on your system, it will upgrade it. And basically it will upgrade your system files that are older. Then next you go sudo apt install the Brave browser if you've never installed the Brave browser. Now if that sounds complicated, which it's not, you can simply scroll through here and look at the individual images on how to install the Brave browser if you are using Debian, Ubuntu based systems, or a Mint. Now if you're looking, since I'm using Ubuntu Mate, I click with the traditional menu, I go to Applications, Internet, and then I click on the Brave web browser icon, and in a few moments it will load on your system. Now immediately when it loads, this is what it looks like when you first install the browser, with exception of you will have a longer bar across the top, and I'll show you that in a few moments in your settings. If you don't like all the things that you see here, you can customize it by removing some of the things from this is called your dashboard. You can take off your statistics by hovering over, clicking the Hide Brave Stats. You can remove your most widely visited sites by hovering over it, clicking Hide the Top Sites. Now the thing I don't like about the hover over hiding it, you can't really hover over that and put it back. And I'll show you how in just a few moments that you can hide things and bring them back if you decide that you want to unhide them. The same thing applies for your clock and each of the cards that you see here. You can hide each of those, or you can learn more about those. And that's by using the customization link at the lower right hand corner of the browser. So if I click customize, notice it says show background images. I could turn that off, which there's no longer an image in the background, or I can enable that, and you can say show sponsored images. You prefer not to see sponsored images, you could disable the sponsored images and only see background images as it loads. In a few moments I'll show you that when you're finished, if you'd like to see a different image, just hit reload the page and it reloads with a different image each time that you hit reload. So there are a lot of different images that you see here in your background. Like I said, it just reloads a random page. Let me go back to customize your stats. If you do not like to see that, you can disable or re-enable. If you like to see how many trackers and ads were blocked, how much bandwidth that you saved, that would have been information that would have been downloaded if my ad blocker hadn't been turned on, and how much time it saves. Now this has not been used very long. It's a little over a week, so I saved 3 minutes of time, blocked 73.8 megabytes of data, and I've blocked 2,716 trackers and ad blocks. You can look at your top sites, which that's what we hid a while ago. So if you'd like to enable it again so you can see it, you can enable and disable by using the customized dashboard. Because if you're going over and hovering and hiding it, you can't go back and hover and unhide, whereas using the customized dashboard you can. The Brave Today. This is basically your news where you can click and scroll down. You can customize what you would like to see. Like if you like health news, culture news, more information about Brave, home, business, sports, and there's a lot of topics. You can customize what you'd like to see in the news section. If you don't want that on your screen, you turn that off and the Brave Today is now removed from the dashboard. You can enable or disable the clock in the upper right corner. I like to turn it on so that way when I start up the browser I see the clock here. I know I do have a clock here which is very small. You can enable the 12-hour clock, which is by default here, or you can adjust it to the 24-hour clock, which right now you would see 1403, which changed to 1404. I prefer to use it on automatic, which uses my default time in my area. More cards, and that's what you see here, and you can add cards. You can go and hide the cards that are on here. Now Brave, unlike other browsers, have your Brave rewards, and I'm not going to get into the Brave rewards on this video. You can Google or even YouTube the Brave rewards, where you can sign up to start building up currency by watching ads. So that's not the focus of this. Is to show you how to use or set up your Brave browser to use as a browser like you would Google Chrome, Firefox, or any other browsers that I've covered so far. You can hide these cards. You can click the hide button, scroll down, and remove every card here. If you'd like to go back eventually and enable them, you just go back to this section, hit add, and it will add back the card on your dashboard. And that's the way that you can customize the dashboard. Now there's also the customization that you have here within your settings. You can click the little hamburger menu and click onto your settings here, and there are a lot of other features that you have within the drop down menu, or you can click the little cog wheel here, which if you notice in the lower left hand corner, when I hover over it, it takes you into your Chrome settings as well. So when I click the gear, this takes you into your Chrome settings where you can create a name, profile name, and icon for different users. You can import your bookmark set, and so if you're in Google Chrome, you can export them as an HTML file. You can go here and choose where it's at, to which user that you have set up here for what profile, and you can import your bookmarks from other browsers. You can make this your default browser. I prefer not to install it immediately and make it the default browser until you get used to it. And if you decide that you want this as your default browser, just go back in the settings, click make as default, and it will make this browser your default. When you click on a link, it will open with your Brave browser. On startup, by default, it's the new tab page, and that's the tab page that you see here. If you'd like to, and I'm going to go ahead and turn those off. If you'd like to make it something other than your new tab page on startup, you can say continue where you left off. So that way if you're someone that works long periods of time, you don't have to email the last link that you were at, or you don't have to save it within a file. You can just close it out. When you open up the browser, it continues where you left off. Or you can put a specific page. Like if I wanted to open to google.com, if I open this browser here, setting it as Google, when I click the new tab, or when I open it up, it will eventually open. Down here's the new tab. If I was to close this now here, leaving it here, and I go back to Brave, instead of opening to my dashboard, it's now going to open at Google. Now I don't have the customize or the gear here because it's not at the new tab, so I go back here and click settings, and if I don't want to open at that, I want to go back to my original start page, I can go back to the new tab page. So it looks the same here when I close and open the browser as it does by clicking on a new tab. So that's the difference between here and here. For the appearance, that's like where we click the customization button earlier on the dashboard. You can choose the dark, and that's not the default. The default is the light theme. So when you install it, it will have the light look. So under your appearance, if you prefer the dark look, if you're someone that uses the browser for a long period of time, or you use it late at night, you might want to disable the light and put it on dark so it will not create as much strain for your eyes. You can prefer to use the classic look, or you can go to the Google Chrome Web Store and install hundreds or even thousands of different themes from the Google Chrome Web Store to apply it to the Brave browser to give it a specific look that you prefer over the default look. Now here, this is for your home button. Like if I enable the home button here, and by default the home button is not enabled. Or if you look here where it says the home button enable, you can disable your home button or enable it. If you don't want the home button shown, just leave it turned off. You can switch it on and it enables the home button. So when you click here, this is your new tabs button. Here's where you hit the home button, which currently right now your new tabs button and your home button is basically the same thing. If you prefer something different than your new start page or your like a new tab page, you can go here, and whatever you set, it will then go to that location when you hit your home button. So now when I hit the home button, rather than going back to the start page, when I hit the home button, it now takes me to whatever I placed into that link. So in this case is Google. You can put whatever you want, or you can choose to go to the start page. You can make it just like clicking the new tab and then clicking here. That way if I'm at my website or some other site, I can click home and it will take me back to this site that you see here. You can say to show the bookmarks. So by default, this allows you to import your bookmarks and see a bookmarks bar. Now I don't use the bookmarks bar within Brave just yet. So since I don't use it yet, I say to hide the bookmarks bar, and it gives me more real estate. Now just because I hide the bookmarks bar doesn't mean I can't access my bookmarks. You still can, it's just you got the bookmarks bar hidden. You can say use the wide address bar, and this is by default turned off. Now what that means is when you first install the Brave browser, you have a very small URL bar or address bar in the center, which means you've got a lot of blank space to the left and a lot of blank space to the right. If you'd like to remove that blank space, you can say use the wide address bar, and it will go all the way over to the end or to the extensions that you have added, and it will go all the way into the buttons on the left. So if you don't like the wide address bar, you can leave it on the default, or if you don't like the empty space, you can say use the wide address bar. You've got to show the autocomplete in the address bar. You've got a lot of other features that you have, and I'm not going to go through and read all of these. On my websites, I do have a section where I describe the features that you see here, and they're pretty well self-explanatory. If you would like to control the page zoom, if the fonts are too small, you can create a different zoom which will then make it larger or smaller font size that you see within each web page. A new web page. Now this is the new tab page. Basically it's like the customization. So when you click on a new tab, this basically controls what you see on the new tab page. So when you open a new tab, basically it's set to default a dashboard. You can say to make it your home page, whatever we set to the home button, or to make it a blank page. I prefer to leave it at the dashboard. Since we customized a while ago and chose to show a background image, that's what's turned off, and we turned off to show sponsored images. So if you don't want to customize through the customize link at the bottom, this is basically what you would normally do within that customized link that you saw on the home page on your dashboard. One thing I like about Brave compared to Google Chrome or any of the other browser is you don't have to create an account to sync the browsers. If you've got this on multiple devices like multiple laptops, a phone, or a tablet, you can say start the new sync chain, and it will basically create you a code, and that way, or you can say I already have a sync code, scan that code, and it will sync up your browsers together. So you don't have to create an account so that Brave keeps information about you on their server. Shields. You can enable the Brave rewards, and that's like here, not this one, but here. This is your Brave rewards that you can sign up, and I'm not going to focus on that. You can use Google or any of the other search engines or YouTube to look up more about the Brave rewards, where you view ads and it accumulates cryptocurrency that you can eventually put on a card or maybe send to your content creators to help those creators on the internet. You can choose the default view, like the simple view, or your advanced view. So when you have drop down menus, you can see the additional buttons to switch things on and off, and that's the default. For your trackers and ad blocking, you don't need an additional ad blockers or pop-up blockers. It has it built in, so you don't have to install these extensions that I have here. By default, when you install Brave, there's an ad blocker. So if you were to install just a blank version, a vanilla version of Chrome and a vanilla version of Brave, and have them side by side, Brave would load faster because it has a built-in ad blocker to block all those ads that would be using your bandwidth and amount of time to load. So you can use the built-in ad blocker, or if you prefer to use any of the preferences that you would normally install from the Google Chrome store, I prefer like the uBlock. Some people ad block. There's a lot of others, and I'm not going to say use one over the other, but I just recently switched over to uBlock Origin and I enjoy it, so I install it on the browsers because it does speed up the load time when I visit websites. It prevents those ads from loading, increasing my speed on loading web pages. You can choose to block scripts. Now, if you turn on block scripts, it may prevent websites from showing videos, or it may prevent websites from working properly. You can actually go, when you load a web page, click up here and actually create a drop down to disable scripts on certain websites, so you're not doing a universal block scripts to every web page. You got different cookie blocking that you can drop down and say on every web page, on cross sites, or disable that. By default, it's only on cross sites. You have your fingerprint blocking, which is standard as the default. You can say script or disable. I'm going to leave it on standard. You've got social media blocking, so that when you on the logins, if you disable those, then that way it will speed up your social media for collecting information on your browsing, especially if you use these Twitter, Facebook, or Google logins. But disabling those will speed up the time when you're surfing across the internet. Your search engines, you can change it from Yahoo, Google, DuckDuckGo, Quant, Bing, or a start page. You can go to here to manage your search engines, where you can remove the search engines that you don't want by clicking here. Say make it default, edit, or remove it. You can add other search engines that if you know a search engine that's not on the list, you can add it to the list. And that's pretty common on most browsers now. Your extensions. You can say load crypto wallet on startup. I've disabled that. Allow Google login for extension. I've disabled that. You can enable or disable the Hangouts. It's enabled by defaults. You've got lots of options that you can choose here. So I'm not going to focus on extensions here. Now, I've already showed you, like if you want to get more extensions, you can click here and it will open up the Google Chrome Web Store. I do have the uBlock Origin, the Popper Blocker. I do have Privacy Badger, and I do have Traffic Light. So if you would like to install any of the 4 extensions I have here, you click the link on my website, and I do have the suggested extensions that I like to use here. So I do have optional HTTPS everywhere, as you can see in the images. Here I have it, but the HTTPS everywhere is basically a feature that's built in to the Brave browser. So if you have that enabled, it will automatically make your sites to a secure website. So you can go do a safety check. When you can go, like you click safety check here and say check now, it will go through and it will make sure your browser is updated. Safe browser protection is on. If it's not, you can click here, switch it on, and it basically tells you, it gives you a little update on your how safe your browser is. You can choose to autofill when you're putting in your passwords to store it within the browser. You can choose your payment methods, so if you're using a debit card, credit card, you can store that within your browser. You can choose not to if you think it's not safe. When you're filling out forms that require your mailing address, you can choose to store those within this browser as well. It will by default choose the language that your system is, but you can go through here and change it to a different language if it's something different than your default. You can enable the spell check feature. You can customize the spelling check, so if it says something is misspelled and you know it's not, you can go in there and customize your dictionary. You've got additional settings down here, and I'm not going to go through every single one of them, but I will say if you've made changes and you don't like it and you can't remember what you did, you can go back and click the reset, and it basically removes all your settings that you've changed, making it back to the default. So if you're looking for a new browser, if you're looking for a browser that is very private, I suggest you to give Brave a chance, or install it and give it a try, and if you like it, eventually you may make that your default browser. Now, one thing I can say, that comparing it with Vivaldi and Opera, it's not as customizable, meaning that I can't move something over here, or move things around. But that's not a big deal breaker for me. The privacy thing is the biggest deal, when comparing Brave with Google Chrome. So if you're looking for a new browser, I suggest that you give Brave a try. Hopefully this video has been helpful to you, and have a great day.